Hi guys, this is Adam with SeeYouLaterLeaner, and I have a presentation that I put together for you. I don't know if you guys know, but 90% of diets fail. What does that mean? That basically 90% of people who lose weight gain it back within 2 years or less. And that's a pretty hard statistic. One of my main reasons being here as a coach is to help you guys get past that statistic. So here we have dieting and the rich metabolism, and today we're going to talk about how diet types, genetics, and mindset can affect your success. Some people seem to be able to diet and make errors and make really good progress. Those people are defined as the lucky ones with a genetically rich metabolism. Some people can diet with very minimal errors and have a very hard time making progress. Life isn't always fair, genetics aren't always fair, and some people, just like they're born into money and are born rich, will be born with rougher genetics and be born poor. But there can be solutions. Dieting and finances equal budgeting. Let's dive in. Fitness and finances are very parallel paths. Just as a balanced financial budget is crucial for wealth, a balanced fitness budget is essential for you achieving your physical well-being. Neglecting either can lead to long-term consequences. This is very much like if you don't make your car payment, the repo man is going to come and get it in a certain amount of time. I think sometimes we take fitness for granted because we don't necessarily have the fear of the repo man. We actually should be fearing something worse, the Grim Reaper in this case, but they're not necessarily calling you and hassling you and telling you to get your shit together. So that is what can make this, I think, neglect our fitness a little bit more than our finances. Genetic advantages, a rich head start. Good for you if you have this. But while some are going to have genetic fitness advantages, budgeting this is still really important. So even if you're naturally fit, you can mismanage your resources pretty easily and put yourself in fitness debt. Keep in mind, even MC Hammer was rich at one point with very deep pockets and filed for bankruptcy, so you have to be careful. Long-term consequences of your fitness imbalance can definitely cause some long-term side effects to your health that you do not want. So even if you're genetically rich, make sure that you balance these things to keep you in a good spot. Mindset matters, embracing the fitness budget. So adopting a mindset that treats fitness as an actual valuable investment, much like financial budgeting, you may not feel like you're seeing the results or the outcome right away, but if you keep investing, you're going to grow a really great portfolio and have something that you can cherish for even a longer period of time. So it's really important to view these as a valuable thing. No matter how much you're budgeting, even if it's just 2 or 3 times a week in the gym, or making sure that you're monitoring your calories a little closer, these are really important investments to make now. So now that you've chosen to invest in your fitness, let's talk about some ways we can do that. Consistency is key. Consistent long-term adherence is going to be what sustains your fitness routine and gives you a foundation and the base of your entire fitness journey. If you don't have consistency at the bottom of the triangle, it's definitely going to topple and fall over. So make sure whatever you're doing, you're taking the time and managing it to do it. Explore different options. There are many ways to invest in your fitness, just like investing into your finances. Definitely try different activities. The biggest thing with this is find what works best for you. And that does not mean from a results-based approach right away. This means something that you can be consistent with and something that you enjoy, which we will talk about later. There's no one-size-fits-all plan. There's no single best or trendy diet that is going to work for you. What works for one person may not work for another due to their genetics, lifestyle, personal preference, schedule. Again, back to consistency. Be willing to experiment and adjust. Try new things. Take things that you like about things you've tried and implement them into your approach. Tethering some things together and some exercises that you like, there's no reason to throw those things out if you enjoy doing them and they get you moving. This is what I think is one of the most important parts when it comes to exercise is prioritizing enjoyment and fun. So you want to choose activities and diets that you genuinely enjoy. It doesn't have to be what is deemed as the best program. Of course, lifting some heavy weights in the gym can produce some wonderful results. But if you hate that and you tend to sit at home more often on the couch, that's not really going to get you moving. Technically, if you enjoy walking 9 holes of golf more, some people who are maybe extreme in the bodybuilding scene may not call that exercise, but if it is getting you off the couch and moving, it's very important for you to do this and keep with it and just make sure, again, you're being consistent with it. So the first part we kind of talked about exercise, and one of my main points I wanted to get across with this presentation and the rich metabolism is the dieting piece. This is what I want to spend most time on, because even if you didn't exercise and you stick to your diet, you can still get amazing results. So what I did is I ranked a few different diets on 4 criteria. First is going to be day-to-day ease of use, which means how easy is it to implement this diet. The second rating is going to be ease of understanding. How much knowledge does it require to do this type of dieting? Third is going to be convenience. How convenient is it for you to implement this diet? The fourth one is going to be what I think is the most important, which is the long-term sustainability of the diet. This is going to be what gets you to having a richer metabolism and a better portfolio and allow your fitness interests to rise. Every criteria is ranked on a 1 to 10 scale, 10 being the best and 1 being the worst. And we gave every diet a total score, and the best score, highest score, is what we're deeming as one of the better options for dieting. The first diet that we're going to dive into is called If It Fits Your Macros, also known as flexible dieting. So this is counting macros, protein, carbs, and fats. And within macros, you are counting calories. Each gram of protein is 4, each gram of carbs are 4 calories, and each gram of fat is 9 calories. But let's dive in on how I scored these and why. So with If It Fits Your Macros, the day-to-day ease of use, we gave a 7. There are some number crunching parameters that you have to fall into, and that can be difficult for some people. But if you know how to count, it's pretty easy. And once you learn what protein, what total carbs are, and what fats are, you're going to be smooth sailing. Ease of understanding. Again, if you know how to count macros, it's going to be very easy for somebody to understand. It's not quite as easy as counting calories because you're more specific with the protein, carbs, and fats, but it is pretty easy for most people to understand. Convenience, I gave a 6 because you're not always going to be able to find exact macros, but as you learn more and your knowledge grows with macros, it's pretty convenient and you can make some really good estimates along the way. Long-term sustainability, I gave a 7 because macros, one of the best things is it gives you a wide variety of food And the more you rotate that food, the more likely you are to stick to it. Macros got a total score of 27, which I think is a great score for anyone looking to diet. The next one we will roll into is calorie tracking. This is very similar to macros, except you're only worried about the total calories. The day-to-day ease of use on calorie tracking is relatively easy. I actually gave it one more point than macros because you're not dividing the protein, carbs, and fats. It's really easy just to count those individual numbers. Calories are on everything just like macros are, but it's nice to only have to worry about one thing. Ease of understanding, I gave one more point than macros at 8 because if you clearly don't know anything about food and just know how to read the calorie label, it is a little bit easier. Convenience, I also scored one more point than macros. You're probably seeing a trend here because calories are everywhere and a lot of menus don't include macros, but they will include calories. This tends to make it just a little bit easier of an option. Long-term sustainability, I gave an 8 just because the simplicity of convenience. You can make calorie tracking work in a lot of situations. So calorie tracking got a total score of 31, which is a pretty high score. And again, another great diet for people to have long-term sustainable results with. Next, we have hybrid dieting, which is something probably not many of you have heard of, but hybrid dieting is actually a combination of doing a meal plan, macros, or calorie counting to finish off your calories for the day. So the nice thing about hybrid dieting, it allows you the ability to use anything. You're not necessarily structured to a meal plan. You're not necessarily structured to macros, and you're not necessarily structured to just calories. You can implement these just like the stock market changes. So let's dive in on how I scored hybrid dieting. Day-to-day ease of use, I gave hybrid dieting an 8. A lot of people might eat the same breakfast and lunch, but for dinner, let's say if they have 500 calories left, if they want to track the macros, they could, but let's say they're in a pinch and they're at a restaurant where they only have the calories listed. They could eat those 500 calories to finish off their day if they find the correct item on the menu. Ease of understanding. I gave this a 7 because you at least have to know how the macronutrient concepts work to be able to implement hybrid dieting, because macronutrient counting can be a part of it. And I really think that you need to understand calories and macros to be able to have the joy of hybrid dieting. Convenience, I gave an 8 because you actually understand both concepts of calorie counting and macro counting. And actually, you would be surprised in both camps. Some macro trackers actually don't know how to count calories, and some calorie counters do not know how to track macros. Long-term sustainability, I gave it a 9 because you have so much knowledge about food, and it's going to give you a little bit added structured flexibility with your dieting. So I gave this a total score of 32. The great thing with hybrid dieting is you can combine meal plan, macros, and calories to hit your total intake for the day. The nutrition world tends to be married to one or the other, and why the hybrid diet is so great is you can implement the benefits of all of these types of diet. All right, I think we've all done them before at one time. Let's talk about meal plans. Day-to-day ease of use. I think people are just as religious about their meal prep on Sunday as they are watching Sunday football. If clients get that done, the ease of use is very, very easy, and as long as the power doesn't go out on your fridge. This is actually where meal plans scored the highest in any category, was ease of understanding. You don't have to know anything about dieting to implement a meal plan aside from knowing how to measure your foods. And if you can do that, you can easily follow a meal plan. Convenience. It's convenient if you have your food, but in other settings, it's just not. You usually have to bring your food in. If you're going out to a fancy dinner or a wedding, a lot of times you're not going to be able to bring that in. And we always find that convenience can be very, very hard in the meal plan camp, so we gave it a 5. Long-term sustainability. You may find some people who can eat the same things every day. You may find someone with a functional or autoimmune issue where they have a very narrow palate. Sustainability with meal plans is very, very tough, so I gave it a 2. I gave meal plans a score of 24. Even though it was a leader in the ease of understanding, you don't have to know anything about dieting. The convenience and the long term of sustainability for meal plans is severely lacking, so it scored less than the other diets that we compared today. Next, we'll talk about intuitive eating. Intuitive eating is something where you are eating based on your intuition and what you know and what you have learned about food. The day-to-day use of intuitive eating is very hard. You're always thinking about your hunger cues and trying to control them in more of a controlled manner. The longer people do this, the harder it is to kind of be real with yourself and really know what you're consuming. So the day-to-day ease of use is very variable and very tough for people. The ease of understanding, I gave a 5 because you have to have a long history of very successful dieting to be able to implement this. I've diet coached for 20 years, and most of my people who say that they're going to try intuitive eating usually come back to me with some kind of diet debt that they're trying to shave off. So the ease of understanding can be very, very hard, and I think a lot of people think they want to do this until they get into debt. Convenience is where intuitive eating wins because you can kind of eat whatever you want within reason. So you can definitely make some things work. And some people may or may not call this a cheat meal or an untracked meal. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you overindulge, but really anything on the menu within reason is open, and you don't even have to eat the whole thing on the menu if you don't want to. So intuitive eating actually leads in a 9 on this scale. Long-term sustainability, I'm going to give a 6. Most people will find themselves in some kind of diet debt after embarking in this diet. You have to have kind of a genetically rich metabolism or have built up a decent amount of savings to end up having some long-term sustainability with intuitive eating. I gave intuitive eating a total score of 23 for the reasons that it's not necessarily completely defined on what it is. If you have a genetically rich metabolism, this might be something you can adopt, but you really want to have some savings built up if you do. So now we have how everything ranked. Let's go to the board and look at everything. We have It Fits Your Macros at 27, Calorie Counting at 31, our leader, Hybrid Dieting at 32, Meal Plans at 24, and Intuitive Eating at 23. Now, I know there's a lot of different ways that we also could have ranked these diets, but we're talking about the genetically rich metabolism and trying to get people out of debt to be able to make a nice, great portfolio to their fitness. So the 3 leaders are going to be hybrid dieting, calorie counting, and If It Fits Your Macros. These all offered some great long-term sustainability, some rules that everyone can follow, and follow for a long period of time. I think meal plans are great as well, even though it ranked as 24. This can be what some people need just to get their feet wet into the dieting world. It's so simple, but you're probably not going to diet on meal plans forever. So if your coach only gives you meal plans, you're going to need to look for your next step out of the mud, because you're eventually going to sink if you sit in that pool for too long. Intuitive eating just needs to be a more advanced state of dieting, so you need to master everything else before you dive into intuitive eating. This would not be something that someone wants to invest in who just started in their fitness journey. So which one is for you? And that's what we're here to talk about today. If it fits your macros, hybrid, and calorie tracking, these provide a balance of structure and flexibility, similar to diversifying your investments across multiple stocks. You're not just in one place. Allows for adjustments when life becomes unpredictable, just like shifting your investments in the stock market. I think any of these, or a combination of all of them, can be perfect for you. Meal plans can be great for those who don't have much room for error or trying to get out of dieting debt right now. Those who don't want to think or learn about anything. You need the results now without error. You need to get out of that debt. However, once you are out of that debt, it might be wise to celebrate the fact that you're out of debt and move to a more flexible approach that will keep you out of debt for the long term. Intuitive eating may be suitable for those in a diet retirement or those with a genetically rich metabolism. However, without a lot of monitoring or understanding, it's easy to overspend without a budget unless you're genetically rich enough to afford it, or you are so smart with your hunger cues that you are really able to have a whole lot of internal thought process and self-control. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. I offer one-on-one coaching, and even though I don't think there's a best diet, I actually use all of these types of diets in my clients' portfolios. So if this is something that interests you or you would like to learn more about, go ahead and email me at adam@thedietdoc.com, or you can inquire at www.SeeYouLaterLeaner.com, and I will hopefully see you later, leaner.